Welcome back to What We Have in Common. I'm Darren Hamilton. Tonight I'd like to discuss one of the strangest ideas in American politics, the belief that every citizen in a nation of 340 million people can accurately be described using a line. That's it, a line. Thousands of cultures, 50 states, hundreds of millions of unique lives. And our entire political system looks at all of that complexity and says, would you describe yourself as more of a Coke or a Pepsi? It's remarkable. America put a man on the moon, split the atom, invented the internet, and somehow concluded that human civilization can be organized using the same system we use to sort bowling shoes. Left, right. Choose. No wonder everybody's angry. As a libertarian, I've always found this especially funny because political quizzes absolutely hate us. Political quizzes love certainty, but libertarians are basically the cats of politics, independent, argumentative, and completely convinced that everyone else is the problem. The quiz asks, do you support free speech? Yes. Do you support privacy? Yes. Do you support marriage equality? Yes. Do you support gun rights? Yes. Do you oppose endless wars? Yes. Do you distrust concentrated power? Very much so. It's usually after that question that the computer immediately starts making the same noise as Windows 95 made before deleting your homework. Because the modern political system has one assumption baked into it. If you agree with the Republicans on one issue, you must agree with Republicans on all issues. If you agree with Democrats on one issue, you must agree with Democrats on all issues. And if you disagree with either party all of the time, you are apparently some kind of cryptid. A political Bigfoot, spotted occasionally, never fully understood, and never discussed openly. Now, maybe this is my autism talking. Actually, let's be honest, it's almost certainly my autism talking. But I've always been fascinated by the fact that politicians keep describing Americans being part of one of two ideological tribes. Meanwhile, Americans keep behaving like people. Because when I talk to Texans, I rarely meet ideological extremists. I meet exhausted parents, small business owners, teachers, veterans, nurses, mechanics, retirees, students. People whose primary political philosophy is, can somebody please make this less stupid? And honestly, that's a perfectly reasonable worldview. Because most Americans don't wake up wondering how to advance a comprehensive ideological framework. They wake up wondering why healthcare costs more than a bass boat. Why housing costs more than a kidney? Why road construction projects appear to be following the same timeline as medieval cathedrals? At this point, I've seen human beings conceived, born, educated, and licensed to drive before some highway projects are completed. These are not left versus right concerns. These are normal person concerns. And that's when the whole political story starts getting weird. Because once you strip away the cable news costumes, most Americans want roughly the same things. Safety, opportunity, fairness, freedom, and accountability. That's it, 5 things. You could fit the entire agenda on a Buc-ee's napkin with room left over for brisket stains. But here's the part that they don't tell you, because if you knew it, their brains would explode. Both Republicans and Democrats generally want safe communities. Both Republicans and Democrats generally want opportunity. Both Republicans and Democrats generally want accountability. The disagreement usually begins one step later, because the destination isn't the fight, the GPS is. It's like 4 Texans trying to drive to Dallas. One wants to take I-35, one wants the toll road, one wants back roads, and one only trusts paper atlases purchased during the Clinton administration. 20 minutes later, they're all threatening each other with Whataburger ketchup packets. Nobody disagrees about Dallas, they're fighting about the route. That's American politics. And here's where liberty enters the conversation, because liberty asks a question that neither party asks often enough. How often do the people making the decisions get it wrong? And history's answer is, constantly. Every administration, every party, every bureaucracy, every movement, every generation discovers this lesson and then immediately acts shocked when it happens again. It's the political equivalent of standing in the rain and screaming, "Who would have predicted water?" Which is why libertarians often agree with Republicans on goals. We like opportunity, we like responsibility, we like constitutional limits, and we like freedom. We just become nervous when the solution involves giving politicians enough power to wallpaper Texas. Likewise, libertarians often agree with Democrats on goals. We like fairness, we like civil liberties, we like criminal justice reform, we like peaceful people being left alone. We just become nervous when every solution requires creating a new agency, commission, task force, oversight board, advisory committee, and subcommittee dedicated to studying whether another committee might be necessary. Because liberty starts from a very simple observation. Human beings are not perfect, which means that the people running institutions are not perfect, which also means that the institutions themselves are not perfect. So maybe we should be careful about concentrating too much power in any one place. Not because people are evil, but because people are people. And history keeps filing the same report. The reason I think the left versus right framework is failing is that it asks the wrong question. The question isn't which tribe are you in, the question is what are you trying to accomplish? And once you ask that, the whole conversation changes. Suddenly neighbors become neighbors again, citizens become citizens again. Problems become problems again, and politics becomes less about loyalty and more about solutions. And that's dangerous. Not for America, for the people who keep profiting from keeping Americans angry. Because outrage is an industry now. Fear is an industry. Division is an industry. At this point, polarization may be our most successful domestic manufacturing sector. And that's why this series exists, not to decide which team is good and which team is bad, not to tell you who deserves your loyalty. Those are questions you can only answer for yourself. But to ask a question that modern politics desperately wants to avoid. What if most Americans already agree on the goals? Because if that's true, then the real debate isn't left versus right, it's which methods actually work and which ones don't. And while that's a much harder argument to sell on a bumper sticker, it's a much better conversation for a free people to have. And if liberty means anything, it means refusing to let somebody else reduce 340 million unique Americans into 2 marketing categories and a fundraising email.